Well, welcome back everyone for part 2 of painting loose and I don't know, loose and lively tulips, we could call this, because these are definitely loose and I think they're lively. So last part we worked on just blocking everything in, and today we get to do kind of more the fun part of the lesson, and that's the final touches. And so we can really build on our values, and we're going to build on adding highlights to these tulips and everything. And then we might even go over how to add some of this gel medium to really make these acrylic tulips stand out like oil paint. So it's kind of a fun thing to do. So we'll just see how much we get through. And my canvas is kind of wiggling because I guess with all the moisture and everything, it kind of tensed it up. So I'm just gonna, so it doesn't wiggle the whole time, I'm gonna just quickly put some paper towel under it. And this is a 14 by 14 canvas, so if you're wondering, this is one of the largest paintings I've filmed in my classes, because normally at most I'll do a 12 by 12, so it fits really well in my my camera. So yeah, I like to keep things simple, so I'm not much of a videographer, whatever you call it. So if it fits under my webcam and I can film this, that's how I do it. So you'll just have to forgive me. I don't have a camera filming crew or an editing crew. It's all me, and the kids are out for school right now, so I really don't have much time to tinker about with editing software and try to figure that out. It's like a whole nother fine art. So this is what you get. So before I get going on the lighter colors, I feel like we got a lot of mid-tone here. The lightest light is probably this little white highlight here, and the darkest that we're working with is here. So we need to bring out a little more dark before we can show off the light. So I've got out some Paynes gray here, and this is on a stay wet palette. So this paint has stayed wet since I did this class, and you'll see why. There's a little sponge underneath here. It's really gross because it's gotten all wet and colorful from the paint, but it comes with the sponge, and then you put the paper on top and the water just keeps it moist. And then I also use a spray mister for keeping it damp. So I'll get a little sap green here. Because this is all messy at this stage of the game, I have just some throwaway palette paper underneath here that I'm going to start to use for some of these final touches. And the paint won't stay dry here very long, so I can spray it with a mister and just kind of keep it going. So what I'm going to do is, I kind of want this flower to, when I put the final touches, I want it to show up more. So I'll just kind of go around and kind of make some darker marks. And when I'm thinking kind of organic, so I won't just block in like a square. I'm going to put in marks that kind of almost negative shape some other marks, so that looks like a leaf there. So you can kind of, and you just sort of go with your gut, like you want to really make it stand out. So just put in a few marks. And the whole idea of this painting is to be more kind of modern and a little looser. So don't worry about making them perfect. That's my whole goal, is to not overdo it. So just kind of walk around or move around here, put some darker marks in the water. Now what just happened with my camera? Okay, there. That's so strange. Maybe it's on autofocus. Let's see. There, maybe it won't move around so much now. I think I put it on like a lock mode. Whew. Okay, so just kind of putting in a few darker strokes in the water and kind of here and there. Just kind of have fun with it, you know. Right, so I feel like that's already a lot more, brings a little more intensity to the program because it's got now more contrast. So, all right, so now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna add some, I think before I move back to the flowers, I'll do a few highlights. So using a little cad yellow, sap green, and some white, kind of add a little more light to these tulips here. And maybe even a little lighter. You can also use some Indian yellow to kind of brighten up that color, and I might even brighten up some of the stems here. Kind of bring this one up a little more. And we can mix in some cobalt to our green and kind of have some different color, more neutral greens in there, just to have some variety. You really kind of, it's like creating an abstract painting when you kind of play around with different colors like this and shapes. So if you haven't watched the first video, it's available for my Patreon members, and you can go and watch the first section and get the whole lowdown on how to set everything up, and then come back and paint this one. And you don't have to paint it this big. You could always do this on a smaller canvas. Just want to use a little bit of this greeny, cobalty color to kind of go around some of these flowers so they also kind of stand out a bit more. And my goal is to really just create kind of some real nice abstract kind of, the brush strokes can just be more loose like this to really have some different texture going in the background. So that flower will really kind of stand out a bit. Can use some of that color to darken in some of those shadows in the white there. And just kind of just keep looking where you can add some variety. That's the main thing, with kind of just sort of and I'm leaving some of that underpaint just for fun too. You can always get rid of it later, but I kind of like the look of it. Just sort of adding some different variety to that background. And I'm kind of sticking with the same colors, but just different values. So now I think I've got enough there. Maybe I'll do a little bit down here of that color, just so when I finish this tulip down here, it's not I'm adding a little of that raw umber to that mix just to kind of change the color a little bit. Just sort of play with those marks as you fill it in. Just using, you can see I'm just mixing different variations of the cobalt, sap, and white, and then adding here and there a little bit of something different, like just to switch it up, just to change it a tiny bit. But it all sort of fits with the rest of the painting. And it's just going to have a nice kind of decorative look. And it's actually harder for me to paint loose like this than it is to try to paint more, you know, tighter, and like it's hard just to like put the color down and let it be, you know. But it's more actually relaxing, you know, to just kind of not care so much about all the different edges and everything being perfect. Just sort of blending in a little darker color around these edges down here. Okay, we can work on softening some of these edges later, and I might just do it a little bit now to get some of that sap green and sort of kind of just blend it a little. Even though it's acrylic, you can kind of, while it's wet, you can kind of blend it a little. Get some sap and some cobalt and a little bit of that white, and that sort of neutralized that sharper edge there. And if you don't like a mark, never fear. You can always go back in and just paint over it. And sometimes we get a little bit more light in the vase just for fun. Okay, so now I feel like we're ready to go back and work on the tulips. So I've put out a bunch of white paint up here, and I can use some of this acrylic gloss gel to really kind of bulk up those brush strokes. So I'll take a palette knife and just scoop some of that out and get some of that white paint. Come on. And mix that in. And it's really fun to do. It looks like you've got a ton of paint, but this stuff, don't forget, dries clear. So it's, yeah, you've got to mix in enough paint to it, and it's kind of tricky when it's white. But if it is clear, it'll just show through to what you've got down already. So don't worry. You can always go back and paint over it once it's dry. If you say, oh, wow, I didn't mix enough paint into that gel gloss medium. And then while you've got this, you can make another pile and add like a little bit of this raw umber to it, just to have some more kind of off-white strokes of the color, like, so it's not all bright white. Even in the white, I'll add a tiny touch of this Indian yellow just to make it more or less boring. And then, yeah, so we'll start with that. And Then I'll mix up some for the leaves. We'll do a few chunky leaves too. So you want to get some of the gel gloss and go where you want to highlight and just really pop that in there. I'm just going to film a little bit for my Instagram here. So if you see my phone, it's because I'm trying to get close up for my Instagram people to see what we do on the YouTube channel. Okay, so I'll just kind of go around now and add some of those nice big brush strokes to really just amp up the volume here. And these ones over here, we can put a little bit of a brighter highlight there. And you can always kind of mix in, you know, to that gel some other strokes. And what's nice about it is it doesn't dry out right away. So you can mix in some more. Some of your other colors. So if you wanted to do that green more, just take some of your gel with the white into this kind of greeny puddle, and you can see how easy it is to sort of blend some of that in. And I'm going to mix a bunch of that gel with some of the cobalt and some sap, and just sort of add some more volume to the bottom of that one. It's kind of like putting icing on a cake. So I really like adding some of this to my paintings, my acrylic paintings, this gel medium. All right, I don't want to lose all the different varieties of color I've got in there, so I'm gonna just sort of kind of move on. We'll add can mix up some of the inside color again and add a few, darker marks there. Might even add a little bit of that color into the vase, just because it's kind of a nice complement with the blue. That was just a little bit of that burnt umber I mixed in with the pile. I can put a few strokes of that around. And now you're gonna look at your painting and sort of gauge the colors and the vase and everything. I still haven't put the top of my vase in, so I'm just gonna get a little bit of this and kind of put in like a little lip to that vase. And then I could put a few bright marks just to give it that fun kind of glass look to it, without it getting realistic, of course. Get some of that Paynes gray and just kind of go in here and there. First, make sure I clean my brush or it starts to already not look dark. Just adding some kind of fun marks here and there to sort of just pop some things out that I want to see and add that sort of definitely modern kind of look to it. Maybe I'll add a little cobalt blue and just sort of this little edge kind of wasn't showing up very well. Just adding a little blue here and there. And you can just add a few little bright highlights here and there. And I don't want to overdo it on the little dilly dads everywhere. So maybe I'll add a little hint of one of the little stamen thingies in the inside. Soften those edges a little. And what else? Maybe I would go at this point and what I could do is just kind of step back and take a minute to look at what I've got here and then see what else I want to add. And then I'm going to add some thick, I need to add a few thick green brush strokes because otherwise it looks kind of like just the flowers have the thick paint and it just doesn't balance out for me well. I need to see a few greens with some of that thick paint. So I'm just adding some sap to the gel medium. And then I'm going to get my brush. And I will add a little bit of that cad yellow light to the mix and some of that white, maybe some Indian yellow to kind of yellow it up a little more. And now I'm going to just go ahead and put a really nice big juicy brush stroke of green here and there on some of these stems. I really kind of want to stand out with a little bit more attitude, if you know what I mean. And get some more of the sap green and add some of those darker strokes like that. And just have fun with it. All right, so now when it dries, you won't just have, you know, the white flowers all popping out. You'll have some of those leaves, and it's going to look really nice. And I hope you give it a try. So if you do and you want to share it with me, just you can add it to the Patreon chat, and you could send me an email or whatever you want. And I hope you like this, and you learned something from it, and share it with a friend. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.